you get trapped inside your thoughts, trying so hard to guess the plot. Cause when we meet, you'll see the wait was really worth it. I would wait forever, cause I got faith, it's just a matter of time. All of the nights without you, I will just keep on waiting, waiting for you.
Why intensely sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barbizzel FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your foot there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
Canvas is going to win.
"2023's been a busy time for SimCar and its top drivers. Today, its top drivers take a turn to iRacing's virtual Long Beach, California, just an hour and 2 minutes from its title sponsor's headquarters. It's the Penguin RC Simulation Grand Am Series, and it takes place this week here in California for the midway portion of the campaign here on FTF GG. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Joey Atterbury with Zach Johnson in the production booth as we get all set to go racing nearby Penguin RC and its headquarters, based originally in Anaheim, California. In Long Beach today, the tensions are high. The pressure is on for many for the sprint and feature race tonight, Joey.
Yeah, it's going to be action-packed here at Long Beach. We kind of got a little bit of a sample with IndyCar and IMSA there just this past weekend with both really exciting races. And now we hop over to the virtual world. And honestly, Justin, I can't wait to see what the mixed class, the GT3 plus the prototypes are going to do here today.
Tom Kirkwood is making history with the third winner from Indy Lights Championship alumni for the third time in the new millennium. As we take a look at these drivers, keep in mind these drivers have a very tightly packed point system for many of these respective drivers coming in today. Christian Youngwall and Sam Adams leading their respective classes entering today. And in the prototypes for Adams in the GT3 Pro. When it comes to Youngwall, compare that to the YAM side coming into today. You have drivers who have done well throughout the campaign to keep an eye on throughout this season, including Brian Son, who leads that way 6th overall in GT3 points. Drivers have already just completed their qualifying session, though, after 10 minutes on this 1.9-mile track to set themselves up for tonight's sprint race. Let's talk about the starting grid. First up is the prototype field. Nate Stewart, Glenn Lazier, the front row. Blake Rhodes and Chris Wentz in row 2. Justin Malone and Aaron Beaver, the top 6. Of note, Robert Lowry and Ryan Steinhoff did not set times in the prototypes. Expect them to be 7 and 8. Meanwhile, leading the way in the GT3s, Christian Youngwall dominating the way with all but one victory so far. Start alongside Matt Kingsbury. John Marshbanks starts in 9th, 10th overall. Jonathan Taylor, who looks to pick up points.
Here in 11th overall, 5th in the GT3s, Trevor Greenfield. Next to him in 6th is Kevin Fanning. In 7th place, we have Ray Kingsbury. In 8th, we have Wanzhen Wang in a Ford GT3. Always good to see that Ford out there. Cody Cosgrave rounding out 9th place. Marwin Mofta there in 10th. And let's see here in 11th in GT3, 17th overall, Joshua Filia. Then we have Tim Brokaw 19th overall and Brian Sohn in 20th overall.
The blue in Pro, the red in AM for today. The rest of the drivers in AM when it comes to GTs. Daniel Miglin back there with Gary Freeman, Tim Taplin, Josh Ondo rounding out the 24 drivers taking times. Lowry and Steinhoff did not set times in qualifying. Of note, Lowry just entering the garage area prior to the start of today's action. Getting all set to go once again. Today's format, 15 minutes for the sprint race, 45 minutes for the feature race. Of note, no fuel limit was added to the cars this evening. Drivers expected not to take a pit stop unless they splash and dash. And keep in mind, the prototypes are where the unless can come in.
I agree, but I think here in this 15-minute feature, obviously, we won't have any fuel concerns. I consider this like a little bit of an appetizer out here, and I think, Justin, if there is a story to this one that I'm going to watch is how quickly these prototypes are going to eat up that track and catch the GT3s.
Very cool. And air temperatures today, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The air temperature, track temperature 103 for the start of today's action. 3 p.m. in Sin time. Keep in mind the winds currently blowing to the northwest at 4 miles per hour. Drivers getting all set to go for the start box. That is where the blue bridge up top is. Green flag waves were underway for sprint action for SimCar. And a great launch from Flynn Lazier. Lazier trying to clear on by Nate Stewart. The NASCAR RTP contender for Rise to the inside. Heading to the fountain section takes the lead in the prototypes. Oh, wow, the GTs are off and away down the straightaway.
Christian Youngwall gets a really nice jump from that pole position, but look at Jonathan Taylor. He's taking a look down the inside of turn 1 on Matt Kingsbury, side by side, but Kingsbury holds on and into the fountain turn. It's actually 3rd and 4th between Marjorie Banks and Taylor that are arguing over there.
Marchbanks indeed doing well to start things off, 3rd overall in the pro class. Comes to the GT3s. Keep in mind, Marchbanks and Youngwall teammates for Simply Inspired Kuoka Racing trying to close up the Penguin RC Simulations GT3 outfit, and the team standings deficit coming into today around 80 points. All this is while Youngwall leads now by a sizable margin. Audi's the top 3. Been talked about by some entering the day. It's worth noting the BMWs have struggled in testing coming into today for this track.
I think that's something that the BOP and the GT3 class, you know, there's horses for courses out there. And I think one thing that the BMW is appealing, though, is it's easier to drive. It seems very gentle to the driver out there. If you overstep the limit, it kind of catches you a little bit. So might not have the pace here at Long Beach, but should see him off of the walls.
Of note, Robert Lowry did not take the green. One driver really slow. That's Daniel Miglin, who has lost touch to the rest of the lead group. Miglin starting 22nd of the race. Yeah, that was from a side slide in the final sector, it appears, between turns 9 and 11. Outside of that, no major mistakes for the field so far. Prototype still led by 2 teammates and then a Nate Stewart. Penguin RC Simulations, Flynn Lazier being pressured by Blake Reynolds. These two of the top drivers of the season. No Sam Adams tonight, though, of note.
I'm going to be really curious because Sam Adams, as you guys know, really dominates the top step of the podium. However, Flynn Lazier last time out at Le Mans was able to snag that win in the endurance format and looks like he's picking up right where he left off.
Talked about plan for him majority of the season, but has missed some starts. He's 6th in the prototype standings entering today. For reference, keeping busy with his real-world racing schedule still too. Still leading the way, though, in the top 3. Chris Wetz, of note, back to the 4th position after leading the way for part of the qualifying session. One Ford is wounded, losing their back wing.
Yeah, this came off of turn 9, which is the back straightaway. You see Wang here, and gonna catch a replay of this, Justin. This is just going too much speed into turn 9 and loses the back end and misses that tire wall completely. Concrete wall means heavy, hard damage.
That's the Pony Express presented by TWR Machine. This also happening just in that exact moment. One of the prototypes hard contact to the wall. That's Ryan Steinhoff for reference. Picked up damage to the left side of the car, and the left wheel is now about to fall off. That's the left front shaking.
A tough one there for Steinhoff, as you see. Not going to be able to even really limp it around, losing so much time. Can barely even turn the car at this point.
This team, keep in mind, DBR Racing switching to prototypes after the opening round of the season. It's not been a pretty time for some of their drivers throughout the campaign since the switch. But all this is going on while several packs are forming. Some are breaking up. Lazier running away from Reynolds and Stort now by about a second plus now. And Lazier continuing to show the speed where he's gone back and forth several times with Adams throughout the season in this series.
Well, one thing that I love that Flynn brings to us here is the true professional racing driver to this virtual world, and just the commitment level of needing to hit every single mark to push the limit out there. And you see, whenever he's on the track, whether it's virtual or real world, he is always aggressive, but within the limits and usually at the top of the timesheets as well.
The case throughout the campaign, whenever we've seen him in the races too, what comes to mind is that battle him and Adams had at Sebring. Adams, for reference, rear-wheel driver with experience at Sebring too. As we take a look from the back end of Reynolds, Reynolds starting to pull away from Nate Stewart. Of note, both of them sharing a team channel earlier tonight. In fact, currently sharing said team channel as they race alone and pass by a GT.
Well, and it's important to be on the radio sometimes together to know when you're trying to push, when you're trying to maybe hide your cards a little bit, if you will. But here in just a 15-minute sprint, Justin, I think maybe it's a little bit more comfort level. Ooh, we got more problems out here in turn one.
That's Justin Malone for the FDF Drivers Club, finding new ways to head towards the tire barriers. This time able to keep it clean though. Malone still in the 6th position, the last prototype running, and trying to hold off Tim Taplin.
This is a battle right now, Justin, to jump over. This is P3 in GT3. You're seeing Jonathan Taylor try to make a move on Matt Kingsbury in this blue Audi down here into turn one. And actually, Matt has already been passed by John Marchbanks up there, so I feel like he might be a little bit of a cork in the train right now.
Keep in mind, Jonathan Taylor should say, driving for Scuderia Paparita, is a teammate this campaign to Jake Fisher. What does that team name mean in Italian, by the way? Property stable. Taylor not looking very stable on the back tires.
I'm kind of wag the tail a little bit, and I don't think that's going to be an issue here in this shorter race, but got to be careful in the longer one not to abuse those tires too much. Not going to bite you here in the next couple laps, but give it the end of 20, 30 laps, they might kind of wear out on you.
That just is expected for the feature race tonight in turn with how short the circuit can be. See some of the drivers in line. Kevin Fanning, Ray Kingsbury back there. Trevor Greenfield keeping close as well. This grouping stretching all the way back through 3rd through 11th for this car type. That about 9th through 17th overall.
And I think that's kind of typical here from this racetrack, Justin, is it's very difficult to pass on. Long Beach is notorious for very few passing areas, so you almost have to go up and pressure somebody into a mistake in order to kind of open the door for yourself.
And I've seen several times, I think you can say the same too, where it's very easy to make one slip up, crash into West Shoreline Drive's turn 5 exit, spin out of turn 6, slam a tire barrier down East Seaside Way. It's not a track that is extremely easy. If you can pick up the rhythm, you can get a good lap, but it's not easy to avoid attrition or mistakes.
No, it is not. You throw another class of car out there, it gets even busier. And, you know, from my time down in Southern California, this racetrack looks more like maybe the I-5, maybe the 405 out there during rush hour.
Speaking of rush hour, how about Tim Brokaw having to go out to the left side? Now is a little bit of the buffer between Lazier and Reynolds. It's like both of them now seeing a separation 1.4 seconds and nearly picking the same lane at the same time.
This is that multi-class traffic, and really, they're getting into the heart of the GT3 field. These are kind of the back markers, still kind of going through some of the AM class right now. However, things are going to get a little bit busier here this upcoming lap.
For reference, a bit of a change in tempo for this race. It's Mofta leading the way in the M class. Tim Brokaw second in that class. Lots of traffic now. Phil Yaw, along with Mofta, letting by some of the prototypes. Already Lazier picking up 2/10 this lap because he's been able to pick them up more of the different timings. Not a great time to reach Trevor Greenfield, though, for the slide and the pass.
Oh, yeah, you saw him lay down some rubber there out of turn number 8, trying to squeeze the throttle down to get the best top-end speed down the back straightaway. Now you see really the intermixing here, and you got to be patient here in the hairpin. You can't be too aggressive because you get this big accordion effect if you are too aggressive.
Oh, Greenfield nearly having the door open up for Crossgrove in the midst of battling. Blake Reynolds just got by in time. Did lose 2/10 as we take a look at the race leaders still work their way through some of this traffic. Greenfield at an 8 start. There is a look at Crossgrove trying to keep things close. It's got himself a victory on the trot for Penguin RC Simulation.
You mentioned that victory early on. Road America, totally different racetrack here at Long Beach, but Cody's got this BMW handling pretty nicely right now, up in the 8th place position and just kind of managing through the traffic. Got Trevor Greenfield, like you mentioned, right in front of him.
So how do you situate yourself to get around this traffic? Because it's there to make a pass, but how do you do this with so many prototypes coming around in, well, Crossgrove smacking the wall?
Yeah, no, it can be tough, and sometimes you actually have to read what's coming up behind you because sometimes those prototypes can offer you an opportunity, but it's all how you play that strategic game.
Looking like that strategic game may be Crossgrove looking for Ascend. Not close enough yet. Greenfield playing the defense hard to the inside, coming through the big chicane towards East Shoreline Drive in one car. It's perpendicular to the track. That's Daniel Miglin again.
Yeah, just all right. Now we've got it pointed back forward here, and that was turn 8 going on the back straightaway, just in a really, really tricky place. You're actually coming down the hill, and just, I think, once again, a little bit too much speed for this Miglin BMW.
That was right on EC side way for reference. Miglin, second to last in terms of those in the lead lap, or rather one lap down in the car type. Not been the greatest of days for the Team Watson back car. Let's take a look back up towards the front. Taylor still behind Kingsbury. All this is while Chris Wetz having to find his way through all this as well. Chris Wetz still 4th in the prototypes. Wetz quietly running solidly in that spot.
Well, I don't know if you caught that, but there's a little bit of some miscommunication there between Wetz and the GT3 cars. No contact, thankfully, but oh, look at this. Kingsbury really loose coming off of the back straightaway. Does this provide an opportunity for Taylor to maybe launch off of the hairpin, get that that Mercedes power to the ground?
Today's AMG trying to build it back up. Kingsbury closing right towards that front bumper of Taylor in the 77. Under 3 estimated laps to go, under 3 minutes to go. Taylor on the send to the turn, to Aquarium Way, into the wall, and into the wall. They both nearly slam. Here comes a send back from Kevin Fanning, who can't get by.
Fanning certainly looked at that opportunity, almost took away 2 positions, and just a little bit of contact between the 3rd and 4th place runners, and all of a sudden, look at that train of GT3 cars really form up behind.
Yeah, now it's the matter of how long does this last, this battle. Taylor still keeping close. Kingsbury now dealing with damage for the final 2 minutes to the whole right side of the car. Oh, and Aaron Beaver needs to get by too in the prototype.
Like I said, it's like the 5, the 405, whatever you want to call them. It gets really busy here at Long Beach.
Not sure if you noticed the 97. Aaron Beaver, I think, it might be afraid to make a move yet, because he's really giving some breaks here. He is one of the DBR racing cars, holding on firmly to 5th. Now he's going as he's got a long straight.
I think that's just sportsmanship too, and I know that attrition plays a huge part in this, and when you're passing so many GT3 cars, I think that Aaron Beaver is doing the very smart thing. Keep your car damage-free out there. Take the passes when they're clean and safe.
Expecting the white flag coming up this upcoming time by. Hearing some tempers flare up over the radio with Stewart and Freeman, but we keep rolling with Lazier leading by 1.2 seconds. Lazier has dominated the way in the sprint race so far. See if Barney waves the white flag this time, expecting it. And yes, he is. White flag waving. Barney with the flag in hand with 37 seconds on the clock.
1 lap remaining, 11 turns here at Long Beach to get this short sprint one over and done with. And Flynn Lazier really out front this whole time. Been pretty picture perfect as this is Kingsbury and Fanning off of the back straightaway.
Frank Kingsbury wants himself a top 5, wanting to get himself some credits for the storefront, and everybody misses the corner. Crossgrove passes by 3 wide and past Greenfield and Fanning. Now it's the teammates who have a chance to battle the 01 and 02 car. Meanwhile, Blake Reynolds has crashed. Nate Stewart gets crashed in the battle for second at Prototype. Josh Ondo, Brian Son also with issues. Reynolds gets by into the wall. Stewart spins it out with no rear wing. What is going on?
And now we get the full retirement from Stewart out there as he spun around on the racetrack. But I believe Flynn Lazier out of the hairpin. He's going to claim the checkered flag.
Checkered waves, Lazier survives a wacky final lap of the sprint in Simcar. Reynolds, I think, yes, is still in second, but Chris Wentz now has a shot to steal it from him. Is there enough time for Wentz? No, there's not. Brian Son gets back going. Reynolds and Wentz get the top 3. It's still a team 1-2 for Penguin RC Simulation GTP, as Nate Stewart has a DNF to his credit. All of this as well. Christian Yunwall comes down the final straight. He picks up the W in the sprint race once more.
Nice run from that Audi. John Marchbanks is going to get second spot. Matt Kingsbury third. And then this is that battle for 5th place. Looks like Cody is going to be your big mover from that hairpin up to 6th place. And then the rest, Fanning, Greenfield, Fisher, and on.
Last the drivers finishing up the race now. That includes Malou and Brokaw. And, well, that changed dramatically on the final lap and then some. As drivers now get the chance to warm up for the next few minutes, let's talk about those final results. Flynn Lazier picking up the unofficial prototype victory by 15 seconds. A lot different, the first differential, after the start of the last lap and the end of it. Blake Reynolds finishes second by 0.8 over Chris Wentz. Beaver and Malou, the top 5 of the prototypes. DNFs go the credit of Nate Stewart, as well as Ryan Steinhoff and Robert Lowry. Also, Christian Yunwall picking up the pro victory in the GT3s over Marchbanks' teammate. A 1-2 once again on the team side for Simply Spark Local Racing. Kingsbury and Taylor, the top 10.
Yeah, and then here in 11th overall, we have Ray Kingsbury, Cody Crossgrove with the big move out of the hairpin there late. Made several positions. Kevin Fanning here, 13th. Trevor Greenfield, Jake Fisher, Joshua Filia here in 16th. And then the first of that AM victory here in GT3, Marwin Mofta in 17th overall. But like I said, GT3 AM victory. Tim Brokaw, Brian Sohn, and Gary Freeman also rounding out the 20 cars here in GT3.
Once the drivers multiple laps down as well. Ondo, Taplin, Miglin, Steinhoff as mentioned with Lowry. Lowry did not take the green until the final seconds of that sprint. Wayne, a DNF as well. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll see which drivers end up battling it out for the victory in the feature race. You're watching FTFGG. Welcome back to SimCar Action, Penguin RC Simulation Grand Am Series, brought to you by Penguin RC Simulation. Awarding prizes per week, as well as for the season, with credits towards orders. The winner of each respective class with the average finish picks up guaranteed free shipping as well. The champion per class for the pro side, $75 credit towards their order. To learn more about Penguin RC, go to penguinrc.com to be able to look at some of the sim racing equipment they have on store and in stock. Interestingly enough, that storefront, as mentioned, just an hour and 2-minute drive from Penguin RC's headquarters to the start and finish line here at Long Beach. That is 27.5 miles. That distance, for reference, about 14 laps around this track. If you ever took that by bike, by the way, from Anaheim to Long Beach, that's more than 2 hours, and 8 hours if you decided to walk across the 27.5 miles to this facility. In turn, though, we get ready for tonight's feature race. Lots to talk about, but let's take a look at how they'll start. Again, it's through the running order based on the finishing order from the previous race. Glenn Lazier picking up the victory last time out. Reynolds and Wetz, they'll start 1, 2, 3. Beaver, Malil, Stewart. Youngwall, Marchbanks, Kingsbury, and Taylor the top 10, that being Matt. As we continue to look through quickly the top 16 drivers total involving the LMPs, as well as the top 3 rows inside the teams being Pro Drivers GT. Then you have Mofta, who picked up the M victory over Brokaw, Son, and Freeman Jr. Amongst those towards the back, who will move up, Steinhoff and Lowry to keep up with the rest of the prototypes. In total, 26 entries making their way tonight to Long Beach. Your keys to victory for tonight's feature: knowing the fuel, not expect to be a factor for one class, possibly for the other.
Interesting, and we'll have to see, because the GT3s, no matter what, should be able to make it, but the prototypes, they're right on the limit here. You know, maybe if we were at a track like Daytona, I would say, sure, the fuel consumption is going to be pretty terrible. You're going to have to pit. But here at Long Beach, a lot of off-throttle time. They should be able to make it the whole way.
Drivers sorting themselves, getting all set to go for the start zone once again. Again, glad to have you with us here today on FTFGG. We continue on to the midway portion of the season, the 4th feature race. 4th round in general for SimCar, the 3rd feature of the campaign before we head to Sonoma next time out, also in California. Green is waving, we're underway. Let's go for 45 minutes on the clock. A good launch once again for Lazier and Reynolds. Chris Wetz trying to find a way to keep up as he backs it up aggressively. Heading to the fountain section, Lazier holds on as they go single file outside of Lowry on Beaver.
And here for the GT3 start, no surprise, Youngwall with a really good jump, but here's Jonathan Taylor going around Marchbanks for that 2nd place position. From then on, it's Kingsbury, Crosgrove making up a couple spots early. Cody making it up there in turn 1.
One driver does have problems right now. Gary Freeman, who started the race 20th, has hit the wall and has had to tow the car. One other has spun around, that's Kevin Fanning. Jonathan Taylor has now had an issue the same time in the next corner complex. So 3 drivers with problems, 1 at least with significant damage. The rest still able to keep going for now.
Well, and Justin, Jonathan Taylor here, that was the 2nd placed runner. He made that move on John Marchbanks in turn 1, so cold tires bites one of the GT3 front runners.
Unfortunate for Taylor, who had some loose moments too in the sprint. Elbow, a nervous moment. That's Wayne. He bounces off of the 0-0. All while Ryan Steinhoff, who started the race from the pit lane, zips by.
Yeah, you can see how busy it can get back there. Just one mistake can definitely put you back, but look at the gap that Christian has built up, nearly 3 seconds in 1 lap.
So the simply inspired Kuoka racing machine pulling off and away in his Audi. Right now that gap nearly a full second, making nearly 3 seconds over his teammate Marchbanks. Of note, the prototype, the top 4 keeping themselves quickly close together. Let's take a look at the replays meanwhile with some of the troubles. We had a few of them to start off this race. A little bit different, and This is before we even take the green. It's a parking lot.
Not uncommon to see that hairpin is so tight it causes such a big accordion effect back there.
See, that in turn stalls things a bit before making that run up to the starting zone. Some of the drivers aren't going at the start, so he takes it 3 wide, says, okay, why are we going?
I love it, and hearing that Ford engine rip all the way down the straightaway down into turn 1. Look at this. This is just on fire through 1, and I feel like here in the fountain turns, turn 2 and 3, yeah, that's when the stack up happens. Gonna clip some flowers.
Well, I asked the question last time out in SimCar Action, who would be in the fountain? We have our answer. The answer's 2 different cars. Well, technically not in the water, but at least the flowers. Here's a look at that, and there's the reason for the brakes.
Yeah, and then you see the Ford come in there at the end, just kind of adding insult to injury, and that was all on the first lap. I don't see any big heavy damage, and then this is Taylor. This was the second place Mercedes in GT3. I think jumping over those apex curbs and cold tires, around it goes.
Correct. Still going, and we also have heard that this has just happened to Aaron Beaver. 2 different prototypes out of the race. Beaver, and as well, believe that might have been Lowry following him into the wall.
And you saw there the damage. He just couldn't control the car, couldn't steer the car, had to take that tow back to pit road, retire that vehicle.
A lot going on, to say the very least, to start off this race for some of the competitors. Meanwhile, traffic management for some drivers. Jonathan Taylor appears has had some more troubles to lose some time. Phil Yaw as well. The rest of the drivers staying in the line like Crossgrove and Ray Kingsbury. It's the battle currently for about 3rd through 5th overall. Here's a look at the back end of the queue. For reference, with Steinhoff turning a car. That's Brian Son, your second place car.
I think we're going to see that a lot. Maybe not so much at the exit of the hairpin, but it just is really difficult to go too wide through turn 11, whether that's the entry, the apex, or the exit. Just kind of a byproduct of when you try to do that.
Took a little while to find the gap to be able to get back on the gas pedal. As well. Son trying to hold off Brokaw as a result. Not a great finish for Son, one of his Warlord Teal ones, and there's Miglin. It's not been Miglin's day.
No, that was another car. You mentioned who's going to be in the fountain, you know, looking at the flowers today, and I've already lost count.
That was with the help of Phil Yaw for reference, and yes, that car did bounce off of Jonathan Taylor too, for those looking for the question. Oh, this is wild. Lazier leads by 1.3 seconds. Reynolds and Stewart close for second, trying to get through some of the traffic for reference. You see them in the backdrop.
And just to let you guys know, Cody Crosgrove actually continues to march his way up. He just made a pass on Matt Kingsbury down the back straightaway. So Cody starting back there in the 6th position, up 3. Now kind of eyeing himself maybe one step higher on the podium if he can go chase down John Marchbanks.
Kingsbury does have damage, though, to the front end. There's he hit the wall coming out of turn 9 that opened up that floodgate. Now I'm curious, though, can Crosgrove bring this BMW forward? We talked about some of the concerns coming in after the update, potentially with the BOP differentials. How will this now factor in? He needs to get about 2 seconds, less than that just about, to get up to Marchbanks.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, because we were whispered that maybe the BMW, not the best track for that car, but looks like Cody Crosgrove, at least here in the feature, has found something. And honestly, on this lap, looks like he's setting his personal fastest lap of the race right now. He's tracking 3, almost 4 tenths, now 5 tenths to the good here in this BMW.
Give credit, the brothers about to start to fight, one in the Audi for Dirt Esport, the other in the BMW and one of the Penguin RC cars. The battle of the Kingsburys, Matt versus Ray. Trevor Greenfield also looking to try and see if he can pass by the brother duel.
Trevor Greenfield, kind of the green caboose here in this train. And for reference, that is 6th place overall in GT3. Doing a good job just kind of hanging on the back of this Kingsbury battle like you mentioned there.
Again, that gets to the patience game we talked about. Even at this point, just a few minutes in, just about 8 minutes off the clock. Difficult to pass. It's more difficult to avoid trouble and attrition, though, and avoid mistakes, as we've seen in the final lap alone earlier on in the sprint race. For reference, Lazier now up by 2 seconds up on the pylon. We've also seen the M battle split up for now between Mafta and Son. That battle currently 5 seconds.
I've been keeping... I'm sorry, Justin. I was going to say I've just been keeping my eye on this GT3 stuff back here. And, I mean, with the exception of Christian kind of running away from it, got my eye still that 0-2 Cody Cosgrove, because I know that Greenfield's chasing down Kingsbury, but I believe that Cody is actually our fastest GT3 car on the racetrack other than our leader.
Last time by, it was a 1/10 of a second difference between him and the leader. Ray Kingsbury reaching for Matt. Not able to get to him yet. Tell some of the drivers sliding about. Robert Lowry hitting now. He's got mandatory damage. Looks like Lowry has done something involving a wall, it appears.
Well, those walls are pretty close. I don't know if you've looked around this racetrack, but they pretty much line this place.
I mean, they're not lined with pillows. Walls hurt. Tire walls still hurt. For the car suspension, I mean. They could still damage your car.
Oh, trust me, I know. I have a love-hate relationship with those tire bundles. They'll save you, but yeah, they do still tear it up.
Meanwhile, lap traffic management time. Greenfield trying to hold on to the outside, but Steinhoff sliding some smoke. Ray Kingsbury coming in. What happened to Kingsbury? He's got mandatory repairs now.
No, that was our GT3 4th and 5th place battle there. The Kingsbury brothers, and that means Greenfield is now going to be freed up in that 5th place position. So we see this BMW come off of the back straightaway here, and honestly, I've been pretty impressed with the action so far here, Justin, but I think with these prototypes running through the GT3 field again, wonder if we're going to see any more of these damage-ridden cars have to come down pit road.
Right on cue, Josh Ondo having to do the same thing. So another driver with mandatory damage. Can't confirm the situation with Ray Kingsbury hitting the wall at a turn 8. Not sure with the 19. Lots of trouble, drivers with troubles, lots of traffic now for Nate Stewart to deal with. He is in second, all running in front of Blake Reynolds with this traffic. Now he tries to get around Cody Cosgrove and try and get around interclass traffic, Ryan Steinhoff, too.
This is the front of that GT3 field.
Blake Reynolds is in.
Now, Justin, we talked about this. These LMDH cars should be able to go all the way on fuel. Are we seeing that maybe they can't and they're doing an early stop?
Not quite sure. I believe Reynolds may have tapped the wall in turn 1. Outside of that, not sure. We'll see as some of the air battles continue. Jonathan Taylor, Tim Brokaw now close.
I think Jonathan Taylor might have just worked his way around Tim Brokaw. If we remember, this number 77 Mercedes fell all the way back to the tail end of that GT3 field. Worked his way back up into the 8th place position. Looks like Brian Sohn is going to be up next. But right now, Jonathan Taylor is battling all AM cars. Now, they're the same class, but they don't really matter for points in terms of his championship contention.
Blake Reynolds, by the way, is now out of the 66 car, so Blake Reynolds appears to be out of the race. Hearing his steering broke from the contact we're talking about in turn 1 when he was trying to get around some of the lap traffic, Joey. And from what drivers are reporting, the tire barriers are breaking steering quickly today for some, Reynolds included.
It's tough. You know, I have on my notes right here, attrition, and then right under it, give and take. You have to be so patient here at Long Beach, and even if you got a faster car, a lot more times than not, you just have to be more patient, give a lot more than you take out there, because you see it can just bite one of our front-running cars.
Here's the thing, Ryan Steinhoff currently being observed by race control here because there are blue flags he is not observing here. He is racing Nate Stewart second place.
This can be tough. I've been in both of these positions, and if you're Nate Stewart, you're getting held up right now. You're trying to get by lapped cars, and if you're this car right in front, if you're Ryan, you're just trying to let him by in a safe area.
Right now, Nate Stewart with an advantage of nearly 2 seconds over Chris Wentz for reference. Something has to give here. There's an error instance. 4/10 lost out of the fountain.
And if you're looking at me, you know, I would say you got to wait until there's a safe opportunity. However, turn 1 is probably the best opportunity you got. And, oh, no, looks like Tim Brokaw having some problems here, as well as I believe that might be Jake Fisher, or is that, no, that's Joshua Filyaw.
Coming out of the final corner, yes, that is Pro versus Am. And off and away goes Fillion to get the spot after all the lost time there. By the way, Nate Stewart has finally gone around Steinhoff. Let's take a look at this incident.
Through the hairpin. Oh. You know, I'm going to chalk this one up a little bit more to the virtual world, Justin. It's after he taps the wall, he just doesn't keep the car tracking straight. Collects a competitor that's already on his inside. And honestly, pretty suave move from that number 111, backing it up into pit lane.
We've seen that at least once. That at the end of the sprint race with Brian Son. Seen it there in the middle of this run, not even 15 minutes in to the feature. That's how busy it's been. So a lot of the air groupings, by the way, have separated out for a bit still. Expecting the estimate about 25 or so laps when it comes to the prototypes. When it comes to the GTs, about 22 laps to go. Once those close, Brian Son, Jonathan Taylor. Taylor looking to get himself past the 03 machine. Son doing Brian Son things.
I think this is going to kind of be a race of what if for Jonathan Taylor in that Mercedes. You see him already climbing up the back of Brian Son here. Definitely has a pace advantage over that BMW. And here we go. Taking a look already as we get a prototype coming out of the hairpin here. But even though this isn't a battle for AM versus Pro, Jonathan Taylor still working his way up through the entirety of the GT3 field.
Looking at the lap average. Lap time averages 1:19.6s. For reference, leaders running 1:19.2s, but that average is enough that put him in the top 3. See how this breaks forward with Taylor trying to get around Son still. Quick car to the racetrack. But again, it's been the difficult part of the tire wear. That's all with a cool track. Well, that scrape to the door is not going to help.
No, and I was just noticing Jonathan Taylor really being a lot more aggressive with the curbs in his line than Brian Son. And he was just trying to square off the hairpin to try to get the best exit as he could. But I tell you what, that hairpin, it sticks out pretty far, farther than Jonathan Taylor thought, and it kind of bit him right in the door.
Still keeping an eye on this battle. By the way, Aaron Beaver has fixed the broken suspension after 13 minutes repairs. Blake Reynolds has fixed his car after 3.5 minutes of repairs. Downside to the battle with lap traffic for Nate Stewart, he also has damage to the 4 car, and there goes Aaron Beaver. Welcome back to the racetrack.
I'm curious, was that him coming out of pit lane? Oh, no.
Yes,
and
it was.
There's a GT3 car. Didn't make the hairpin back there. You see a BMW stuck on track, stopped.
That's Gary Freeman, and I think he is stuck in the tire barrier. No, now he's backing up. And he moves the wheel a bunch of times to try and get the car to turn. And now we have How Do You Parallel Park showcased in the 666. Bye-bye.
Well, you know, at least he waited for a safe gap. He didn't affect anybody else's race, so I'll give him that much. Good on you.
That's one of the R Design cars. Teammates to Fanning and Brokaw, for reference. He did say on the radio he was tight, and he did get repairs 2 laps ago with 13 minutes of repairs done on the car. Speaking of drivers, Flynn Lazier driving away by 14 seconds. So far, he is one of the few who has avoided troubles with traffic management and/or battles today.
You got to read it. And right now, Flynn is doing a fantastic job on the racetrack of not just being the fastest car, and I mean the fastest car by a long shot, but he's also making the wise decisions like you were just commenting, keeping it out of trouble.
That's one of the major keys of winning the championship, surviving, but also keeping yourself clean. Because even when you're talking about series with different point structures and that, the goal has to be consistent. And if you aren't consistent for even one race, you put yourself up for grabs to play catch up. Jonathan Taylor, by the way, has got around Brian Son hearing for 7th overall in the GTs as well.
Yeah, move made just a couple laps ago down the back straightaway, and Jonathan Taylor in that Mercedes continues his march forward. Now has about 2 seconds up the road to the GT3 AM leader of Mofta, kind of running a lonely race in his number 191 Audi up there.
Most of the field has separated itself out, a trend that we've seen several times here in Long Beach in the past on the sim. So now it's the patience game. How will drivers have the rhythm set out? Who will be able to handle the attrition the most? Christian Yunwall, doing what he's done much of the year. Run away from the rest of the pack in his Audi. He's very skilled, to put it politely, and put it very bluntly. He is quick.
You know, I'm pretty new here, but I'm seeing that, you know, from the sprint, just ran away with it. The feature continues to run away with it. And I do give credit, though. John Marchbanks back there in his number 37 Audi, hanging in it. I know that he's nearly 6 seconds back from our leader. However, he's been within a 10th or 2 on the lap time of Christian, and really kind of the only car that's hung with him.
Very successful in several different championships, that including Champion Motorsports, a series that runs on multiple different platforms. Competitors that are also known from that series include GJ Alessandrini, who competes in the real world, months, as well as several others like Miguel Colon and Michael Parker. He's been able to race well against in the past, those in terms of out drivers in those respective series. So a lot of experience behind the wheel in multiple different platforms for Yunwall.
I think that is just a good sign of a good driver, Justin, because the more you drive, the more experience you get. It doesn't matter what you're driving. Just got to go out there and get seat time.
Seat time is seat time, right? And people love seat time, especially when an intern is productive seat time. As there goes Flynn Lazier to lap him a second time.
I think that's exactly, speaking of seat time, Flynn Lazier. I think this is a perfect representation of if you can't be at the racetrack, put a steering wheel in your hands and still go do some laps.
I mean, Flynn Lazier talking about the 3 machine that's up the road for reference. Real competitor. The Lazier family, very competitive in open wheel competition as well over the years, including at a certain track in Speedway, Indiana, that's getting ready for real world action coming up. To say the least, the Lazier family very lauded for their speed ability. Taking a look at Lazier for reference. One who's raced with he's had his father, Buddy Lazier, do very well in the real world of to be expected. Bob Lazier, his grandfather, he's raced in SCCA competition. He's raced in the US F2000. He's raced in the Road to Indy, as it was called. The Indy Lights, when it was called that last year. Several different types. Oh, and the Trans Am Series, too, we made a start in back in 2020.
Lots of different race cars. I can say that I'm officially jealous over here, and everything gets you sharper, it gets you experience, and it just gets you more prepared, whether that's for your next challenge with a race car or even here in the virtual world.
It can be, as we take a look at one of the air battles. Mafta, still the AM leader. And again, Mafta's been doing very well as of late. Mafta started off a bit slow on the AM side, now is charging back in the points fairly quickly. Currently, 10th overall, needs to pick up about 50 plus points to get up to Brian Song.
Well, doing what he needs to do right now, because Brian Song's having a really good race out here at Long Beach, but Mafta in front of him on the racetrack. So in terms of those GT3 AM standings, Mafta doing everything right today.
Here's the toughest part about that, though, because for reference, first place points for the feature, 60 points. That being in the same point system for the GT3 cars, Pro Am. For reference, Mafta 6th overall. If I understand that logic right, 38 points. Right now, Son, we get about 34. That's only a 4-point gain in the feature. There was a little bit of a different spread in the sprint, but it's going to take the rest of the season for Mafta to make up for the quick deficit from Son dominating the first 3 rounds, or first 2 rounds, should say.
It can be tough, and I feel, yeah, that's a big hill, a big mountain to climb, for sure. And I think that when you look at a championship, ooh, big wiggle moment there. Got kind of wag of the tail, saved that Audi. But when the days aren't going well for you, you just kind of have to limit the bleeding in the championship, and that kind of what sets the final for you. You just kind of get as many points as you can, and right now, Mafta doing a good job.
And even when you factor in, okay, what if we factor it in based on first and second in the M class, even if you go that route too, in the point system, it's still going to take 5 rounds to close the gap likely. So it goes either direction in that regard. Mafta, for reference, still holding on to that advantage with Wayne as the buffer. Currently that differential growing on the racetrack. Just past the halfway mark, 15 estimated to go in on cue. Brian Son has spun the car.
You know, the voice that we have over here, the commentator's curse, is very real. Got to be careful with who we talk about sometimes.
I'm going to say something some people like to believe race commentators' curses are not real. That being Lewis McGlade, that says that a lot. Others live by that a ton.
Well, and Brian Son was having a really good job, but that should open up the points a little bit more for Mafta. And one thing that we weren't really, I'm going to play devil's advocate over here, Justin, because these walls are really close. We've already seen it bite so many people. If you're Mafta, you just have to keep on swimming.
Keep on swimming forward. After all, we have an aquarium around this racetrack.
At least on one side.
I mean, yeah. You also have a fountain that technically could swim in. Oh, and a beach. There's a beach. It's very, very close to the racetrack. I believe it's on the other side of the front stretch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is that a pier or port?
You know, Long Beach down here, it's a little bit more of the pier port-esque. If you want the beach, I feel like you got to travel a little bit further south or north to get to some sand.
Thought I'd seen some sand around the grandstands. Speaking of swimming forward, you want to swim forward to tomorrow. Just so happens, the ModernRacingPrince.com FTF1 Series is back in action starting tomorrow for qualifying for the US 500. April 21st to 22nd, registration is still open. Be sure to register on Discord, that available at ftf.gg. Learn more about how you can compete. US 500. And that should be intriguing because they did update the model for the oval cars for the concept car iRacing made in coordination with Delara back in the 2020, and people love the sound of the new car on ovals now.
It sounds really good. I think it's neat. However, there's always those audio files out there, and when you put that right foot down, it's just music to the ears.
I mean, it is a concept car, meaning you're kind of having your dream concept of a sound of a race car in open wheel competition there.
Yeah, you know, but it's still a race car. You know, it's got to have a song, it's got to have a note, it's got to have a voice out there, and when it's pretty, it's even better to drive.
Could be interesting for reference, all about on FTF.gg. US 500 Pocono, Phoenix, Spa, Texas, French countryside, a mystery GP, Chicago, the Rectangle 500 returning for a second year, Grand Prix at the Glen, the FTF.gg 500 at California to close it out. Could be a fun time for that series. About 15 minutes ago on the clock, meanwhile, Flynn Lazier continues to lead the way by nearly 20 seconds. And now it's the question, will anybody have to top off in this class with the pace we're running? Or have they been saving enough? Because normally, correct me if I'm wrong, the window usually for these cars is around 40 minutes.
Well, I think if you're in Flynn Lazier's shoes, you probably have two options, given that there's 15 minutes left. You have a 19, almost 20-second gap. You can either choose to heavy fuel save here or keep...
Or you can keep your eyes open as Gary Freeman nearly gets turned by Kingsbury, or rather by Freeman, who goes in the wall. Wow.
Well, just like that, you know, you could get taken out of the race, too. GT3 cars, always a little bit of a gamble when you come up to them.
And now the message over the radio, turn on traction control. These cars do have traction control, some of them. Nate Stewart, meanwhile, he's pulled away from Chris Wentz by 9-10 seconds now. And now he gets to meet Jake Fisher.
Through turn 8. Get that power down the back straightaway here. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this racetrack, this back straightaway, definitely the loudest place on this racetrack in real life.
Yeah, some of these sections very loud with the roar of the cars, and as we've heard and seen, it's sort of just roaring away from everybody currently. At least for third on back. Speaking of those rolling away from the whole class of cars, Christian Yunwall is continuing to look like a very happy, I believe it's capybara on the car.
And I'm looking at this number 55, glancing around at some different camera views that we've got going on, and I don't see a single scratch on this Audi. So not only is he the fastest car, but he is laying it down nice and clean out there today.
Been a dominant run. Purple, gray, and blue machine. Interestingly enough, user as the team name, iRacing comes to mind, which is a turf club that's been open since the 1850s. Just interesting that it comes up in reference because of the animal represented on the car as well. Still though, Trevor Greenfield, Jonathan Taylor have closed up to within 1 second of note. Blake Reynolds currently is getting himself past other cars. Let's take a look at Taylor here. There is Reynolds for reference. Reynolds currently 5th in class, 15th overall, still looking to make up a lot of ground to pass by others overall. But the other battle talked about is separated by just a few buffer cars. In the matter of, you have Malillo, the buffer between him and Kingsbury. You have Trevor Greenfield now having Nate Stewart as a buffer between him and Taylor. And everybody on a roller coaster ride continues to pass by the roller coaster down the street.
Yeah, and you saw Nate Stewart there working his way by a few of these GT3 cars, going to hop on board. This is Jonathan Taylor, that same Mercedes, working his way up through the field. Right in front of him, Trevor Greenfield in this Audi. If he is able to overtake Trevor, that means Jonathan Taylor up into the top 5 after that early fall.
Greenfield also one of the local cars. Looking to try and hold off a hard-charging Taylor. This is for 5th in Pro. Taylor showing the nose. Has the run. Greenfield not making it easy. Breaks himself nearly to the wall. Taylor takes it away. And now where did Taylor go?
Looks like Trevor Greenfield just barely, and I mean just barely, got the car stopped there in turn number 1 and took it really deep in that Audi. I think he's suffering a little bit of damage on that car.
For reference, wondering where did he go? To the technical shadow realm for a good second. Now instead he is up to 5th. About 9 seconds plus, potentially up to the next car per the projections, maybe less with Matt Kingsbury just up the track. At least at the visual front. That is not for position the next car. That's Ray Kingsbury for reference, who is 15th in the car type. By the way, Kevin Fanning has now parked the car for the remainder of the race. 10 minutes now coming up on the clock. You're in FTFGG in what's been a fairly calmer feature so far. Outside of about a third of the field being out of the race.
It happens, though. It happens at Long Beach. This is our leader, Christian Youngwall, out here just kind of running his lonely race in the Audi. And Long Beach bites. It bites hard. It doesn't matter if it's the concrete wall or the tire wall. I believe we got a few firsthand reports of knocking out suspension pretty easy.
Yeah, we did, and in turn, some of these drivers have been able to keep it fairly clean since then. Although some battles have started to compress of note. Well, Yunwall dominates by 8 seconds. This battle has compressed. This is Mofta. Wayne, this time keeping it clean in the Ford after his bad luck in the sprint. Wayne trying to find a way to close forward. 6/10 gained last time by, meanwhile. And that's the interesting thing when it comes to this respective outfit with Pony Express. We asked about this a little while. They dedicate a lot of time specifically to find speed in one of the oldest cars on the platform.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, and I've been a broken record talking about Jonathan Taylor, but Wang here in the 00 has also had a fantastic race. Justin, if you remember, that Ford GT was one of the cars in the fountain on lap 1, and here he is trying to overtake for 7th.
And the interesting thing when talking with drivers about that Ford is the concerns about the downforce. Yes, there's a lot of speed, they say, down the straights, but the main concern at the top is always about how much speed can it actually carry in the corners. And some tracks, that has been a major factor for it. Other tracks, it's been one of the top contending cars.
I think and here comes the door open. This is going to be an opportunity for Wang. He's going to get up alongside Mofta. Is Mofta going to challenge back into turn 8? Wang leaves enough room, and around the outside up into 7th goes that Ford.
You talked about taking advantage of an opportunity. That's a good example.
Perfect example. You saw the prototype open the door.
Bad news. Just hearing Matt Kingsbury, mandatory repair, significant damage to the 21, 4th in class.
This is huge. This is big time because, like you just said, 4th in class coming down pit road. This is going to promote everyone up one spot.
Not sure how that car got so damaged, but hearing it may have been the wall again being a bit of a factor somewhere. The past lap and a half, it would have been lap 27. Taylor takes 4th in turn. Blake Reynolds has nearly passed by every GT3. Downside, Justin Malone was still 3 minutes ahead.
Yeah, definitely way up there, and just something else to keep an eye on here is, I believe this is our leader, Dyson his way through traffic. I was just mentioning. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Reynolds. I was just mentioning Wang in that 00. Since we're winding down to the end of the race here, he's actually our biggest mover as well. Up 12 positions, started way back there in 18th spot in that Ford GT.
Plus 14 moving forward. To see some of the comfortability with them in terms of that car, for that entire outfit we've seen throughout the season. For reference, Nicholas Johnston, Matthew Johnston, Nate Skyfer, all not here tonight. Wayne, the only driver left for that team this evening, racing, or rather the only to take the green.
Well, and you mentioned that they kind of dedicate their time to the car and the downforce level discrepancies out there. I think that the biggest factor in making a competitive car is understanding it, and it sounds like they've got a good grip with it.
And that's part of the thing when it comes to setting up cars too, is you have to have a grip at it. If you don't have the grip of it, it's hard to keep up with the curve. Still seen as they take care of some of the traffic here. That time by, that was Flynn Lazier, the overall race leader. That's opening up an opportunity for Mofta again to close up.
A little bit of deja vu there, except the positions were swapped around. And tell you what, Mofta is not letting go of that Ford. Although, I got to ask you, how aggressive do you think Mofta is going to be, knowing that you're in the GT3 AM lead right now?
Well, I mean, you take the opportunity if it presented itself, right? But at the same time, you're the AM leader. Under 5 minutes to go, 4 estimated laps to go. Right now, a grand total of about 20 cars running, 3 of which have had to have significant damage repair. Check that too. Zier still dealing with some of the traffic management. A 30-second advantage as he nearly picks the wrong lane with Taylor.
It's okay. He's got it all under control out there. Just a little bit of miscommunication. Flynn goes by. No harm, no foul.
And those are only the minor mistakes that popped up, if that. Lazier has just been that strong today. 28.5 seconds up still.
I think the other thing with that little bit of excitement, too, is I think he might have just got a little smirk out of Flynn in the cockpit. He might just be having some fun as well and got to shake it off. And look at him, got a clean racetrack now, not a GT3 car in sight.
Right now he's got some clean track until he gets up to Jake Fisher. Check that, Cody Crossgrove, and then Gary Freeman again. A few more laps to go, 3 minutes on the clock exact. Been a busy one for some of the drivers. Christian Youngwall, Flynn Lazier leading the way in their respective classes. Mofta can be said same for the AM side of the GT3s. Been hard to close up some of the gaps. Nate Stewart, to give credit, stopped the bleeding at around 30 seconds a while ago. Downside has been, since he lost touch with some of the traffic, it's been hard to hold on. He's also dealing with the damage. Here's the on camera. After all, he's doing it for Dale, as his Twitch says. And he looks very nervous at the camera right now.
I was going to say, I love this setup that he's got going on here, and I think he's still just a little nervous working his way through GT3 traffic. And not only that, every lap around this place, Justin, every lap around Long Beach, there's going to be a tense moment.
He's one of the drivers who talked about this a bit with Blake Reynolds at Sebring, who is quietly a strong road course racer, no more so in the community on the oval side. Just curious on this part, as you see how much she's having to work the wheel. For reference, it's about a 2-second difference between her cameras and what's shown to you. She's trying to work forward, looking calm. Final 2 laps here. We'll see if he can hold on without trouble with the traffic.
Ooh.
Oh, and who is that? It's Gary Freeman.
Well, and that's not the only extracurricular adventure Gary Freeman has had. His last lap, he also overshot it, had to run down one of the escape roads. So I think Gary Freeman in that 666 just counting down the minutes right now. Oh, is that Nate Stewart?
Oh my goodness, how about that? Nate Stewart spinning it around on West Shoreline Drive, and now Chris Wetz again has a chance to move up a spot.
And it's happening. I mean, I know that they've got a lap and a half left, but Justin, it's the last lap here at Long Beach. It's happening again.
White flag waving, lap traffic. Flynn Lazier drives to the outside of Josh Ondo. This time no crash involving traffic. Lazier looking to close it out as one driver in Joshua Filia goes off to park it inside one of the tire barriers. It's been one of those races and one of those days for some. It's been one of those dominating runs for Flynn Lazier. Expecting the clock to reach zeros this time around. Christian Youngwall just so happens to be up in front of him. Might likely have to go another lap. We'll see how this one plays out as Youngwall gets ready to take the checkered in coordination with Flynn Lazier. Checkered waves above. It's Flynn Lazier who makes his only mistake with the wall to win it at Long Beach. Christian Youngwall wins in the GT3 Pros, only a few car lengths back of the checkered.
Yeah, great race from both of those leaders. John Marchbanks is going to come home second. Cody Crosgrove in third. And this is our AM leader here. Mofta in the Audi just got to round out the hairpin. Then he is going to collect that checkered flag here in GT3 AM for that 191 Marwin Mofta.
Mofta doing the job well for Dirty Sport. They can drive on road courses too. Mofta wins it at Long Beach with the round sweep. Brian Son second in AM today. Last the drivers taking the checker flag. Once those Blake Reynolds, who has to avoid a crashing Gary Freeman. It's not been a good day, not even a decent one for the 666. He'll be your last finisher. And yes, the car has no mandatory repairs. Well, that was a round.
You think? And I just couldn't believe it happened again. You know, in the sprint, it was the last lap, the chaos unfolded, and sure enough, in the feature, deja vu, it struck again.
Simply Spark local racing machine celebrating because it's a Team 1-2 in Pro. Grangfield also picking up a top 5, no more so in the community in the past as an open wheel competitor. They'll warm up the tires despite the race being over with Mufta joining suit. Let's take a look at some of the unofficial race results. Lazier, Stewart, Wetz, Malillo, and Reynolds, your 5 prototypes who finished 3 DNFs in the class, including Steinhoff, Lowry, and Beaver. Then Yunwall dominates his way through the GT3 Pro class over Marshbanks, Crossgrove, Taylor, and Greenfield, your top 10 overall.
You're in 11th overall is Wang, followed by the GT3 AM winner, Mofta there in the 191. Jake Fisher, Brian Son, Tim Brokaw, Phil Yaw, Taplin, Kingsbury, and Freeman. Ray Kingsbury rounding out the top 20 here.
Given the reason for Ray Kingsbury with the toe was a technical issue while getting into repairs. Fanning finishing 19 laps down amongst the DNFs on toe as well. Then you have Steinhoff, Lowry, Beaver as mentioned. Miglin made it a couple laps. That's all. That's what top to bottom at the running order unofficially for today's round. The best lap recorded during the feature today. Flynn Lazier 109.8. Christian Yunwall 118.2. 2/10 quicker in the GT3s. It's burnout time up on the straightaway for Trevor Greenfield and the rest of his team. In fact, everybody's going for photo ops. Lot of happy drivers here today.
Oh, and thankfully they don't have to pay for the crash damage because I tell you what, burnouts at Long Beach, they are pretty tough to do here.
They can be. Christian, well, I believe is done burnout time. And in turn, I believe is amongst those finishing up the team celebrations for Simply Inspired Kowalka Racing. Christian Yunwall now joins us. Christian, dominating run today. How's it feel to have a team 125?
Oh man, does it feel good. I mean, I wish Matt would have stayed alive too with the Audi because we were all working together with the setups before the race and it just was working. And I mean, you could see from even the sprint race, I mean, we were just hauling. I mean, it felt amazing. We all did great driving all around and just all around, just real fun time.
How would you describe the traffic management tonight at Long Beach?
Sometimes it was a little tricky. Sometimes it wasn't. You never really knew when the LMDHs would quite get in there or not. So you never really knew. And then you had a couple of the lap GT3s with damage and stuff, which was definitely causing a little bit of chaos. But I mean, it just added to the fun. I thought everyone seemed to be rather respectful. I think there might have been 1 or 2 things, but everyone seemed to have a good time. It seemed to be a good split of cars. And I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun.
Sonoma's next on the docket. How do you feel about the cup layout there?
Personally, a little nervous. I think I've only done 2 or 3 Sonoma races ever, and they were probably all in the F3 or Radical. So I don't think I've ever actually taken a GT3 around Sonoma. So I'm a little nervous personally, and it's going to be a lot of practice for me, I think, next week offline, just trying to figure out the lines and making a safe setup, because I guarantee that track is probably sorted to these Mercs and BMWs. So I think it'll be a pretty good battle next week.
With that, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations once again, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, what is a Kowalka again?
It's a little Australian mammal. It's also known as the world's happiest animal. You'll never see a picture of them not smiling.
A very happy Kowalka. Christian Yunwall, your winner today from Long Beach in the GT3 Pros. Picking up the dub. Meanwhile, in the prototypes, Flynn Lazier ran away from the pack by a whopping 45 seconds to pick up the victory. Flynn Lazier gets the chance to catch up with one Joey Atterbury.
Well, Flynn, congratulations on taking home the win, not only in the feature, but also in the sprint here at Long Beach today.
Yeah, thank you. Had a good race. Had a track position early, which is so important at Long Beach, and yeah, won both heat and the main. Felt good.
Well, you stood on top of every session that really mattered to pay points out here, and you ended at Le Mans on top as well. Is this kind of what we are to expect here in the future?
I hope so. I know Blake is always quick. Nate was really quick this time as well, and Sam wasn't here, so there's still 3 or 4 guys that are really good competition. But yeah, I hope we can win a few more races. That'd be sweet.
Well, and Flynn, every time we come to Long Beach, we always talk about attrition and also the traffic. Was there any close moments for you out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think working with the GT guys is always tough. Whether you're being aggressive or not, sometimes it's just hard communicating with them, and that's always tough. But yeah, I think it's kind of a bad experience with Long Beach working with traffic. But yeah, didn't have any huge issues, and I thought everybody, for the most part, was pretty courteous. Some lap traffic, not so much, but yeah, had a great race, and just want to thank Brian and Blake and Ray and everybody who puts it on, and you guys, because I had a great night. So thank you.
Well, you are plenty familiar with a busy racetrack. And Flynn, once again, congrats on taking home the win here today.
Thanks, guys.
That's Flynn Lazier taking the overall victory and the prototype victory in today's feature race as well as the sprint. Marwan Mafta picked up the M victory in the GT3s. Now joins us as well. It's been a solid run for you as of late, Marwan. How are you feeling after tonight?
It was pretty fun. Car was good. Everyone was respectful. It was an awesome race.
So let's talk things about the championship, because start off the season a bit on the back foot, trying to close up the ground right now to Brian Son. What would you say has been part of this charge of the past few rounds, in your opinion, and why?
I'm just putting a lot more focus and putting more practice in. Brian is fast. I was keeping an eye on him. He was right behind me for most of the race. And I had to let a couple of pro guys go just to make sure that I don't lose too much time for him to catch up. But yeah, we'll see how the next couple of races will go.
We'll say it's been also impressive on the team side as well. Despite the name technically being Dirt Esport, in theory you think Dirt Racing with the name, but you guys have been strong on the roadside all campaign. How would you describe that team focus on that side?
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, it's unfortunate what happened to Matt today and the damage that he got into his car. He was gonna have a very solid finish, but yeah, most of us came from dirt. I came from dirt. Matt came from dirt, so it made sense to bring the dirt to the asphalt and see what we can do.
Team doing very well indeed. Congratulations on the M victory today. We'll see how you do at Sonoma.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for the amazing event. Have a good day.
Marwan Mafta taking the M victory today. I'd like to thank him, Flynn Lazier, Christian Youngwald for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on FTFGG. Joey, your final thoughts first of all after this one, after what was an eventful one in the midst of the shorelines, the beach that is nearby there you see there, as well as the aquarium.
I loved it. I thought it was your typical Long Beach race with a high attrition count, lots of multi-class mishaps, which are just traditional of a street circuit. And you know, I love the sprint plus the feature format. The endurance stuff is cool, but I love the 15 plus the 45, and I can't wait to see what action brings Sonoma next time out.
Yep, you heard that right. Once again, Sonoma Raceway next on the docket, May the 4th, the date for that respective round. That will start off the second half of the season. The Cup layout, currently the projected layout. Be sure to tune in 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, FTFGG, to see how the action plays out. But remember, tomorrow, it's the ModernRacingPrince.com FTF1 Series qualifying tomorrow night. US 500, FTFGG to be able to tune in. To learn more, go to ftf.gg to find how you can register, including the Discord, to see how you can compete. The race is this Saturday, April the 22nd. On that note, it's time to say goodbye. For my broadcast partner, Joey Enterbury, for Zach Johnson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching SimCar and the Penguin RC Simulation Grand Am Series from iRacing's virtual Long Beach, California. We'll see you next time from Wine Country at Sonoma.